We get the exciting time to listen to three of potential candidates. So.
Buenas tardes y bienvenidos. Si necesitan servicios de interpretación, estamos aquí en la parte de atrás del salón. Gracias.
So, Monica, can you help us a bit with where we need to be, and or do we stay here, or? Okay, all right, thank you. So good evening, I'm Ramona Lewis, the president of the Adams 14 Board of Education. I'm here with my fellow colleagues on the board, who I will introduce and ask to stand so you know who we are. I have Vice President Renee Lovato, Secretary Regina Hurtado, and then our treasurer, Connie Quintana, cannot be with us today due to a recent surgery, but we do wish her a speedy recovery. We are recording this for her so that she can watch it later and hopefully help us make our decision. So, our moderator this evening is John Poynton, and I want to invite him up to continue our forum, please. Thank you, John.
Thank you, President Lewis. Welcome, everybody. The Board of Education has received 3 letters of interest for the current board vacancy, and tonight you will hear from each of these individuals, Andrew LaCruz, Luz Molina, and Maria Subia. Please join me in welcoming Andrew, Luz, and Maria. We thank these individuals for their interest, and we thank you, the community, for attending tonight. The meeting is being videotaped and it will be broadcast on our local public access channel 22. So we ask that you refrain from talking while our finalists are speaking, and that you turn off your cell phones or place them on silent mode. The video recording will also be available on Facebook, on YouTube, and on the district website. As you heard earlier, we are providing interpretation for this event, and finalists, in consideration of our interpreter, it will be appreciated if you speak slowly. Tonight's meeting is another step in the process to fill the 2-year board vacancy. It's an important step in finding the best fit to represent the interests of our students, staff, parents, and community. Your engagement is crucial to the process. We are providing question cards. They look like this. They have a dual purpose, which I'll tell you about. These question cards can be used for the purpose of selecting up to 3 additional questions from the audience to ask our finalists prior to the end of the forum. So please hand in any suggested questions to the assistant to the board, Monica Avina. Monica, can you please raise your hand and let everyone know you're at? Okay. After the finalists have answered all the questions, there will be an opportunity for you to engage with the finalists face-to-face and ask them additional questions. You also have a space on that sheet of paper for written comments, and this for the purpose of sharing your comments with the board, your impression of the finalists that you'd like them to know about. The board provided the finalists with 4 questions to frame their remarks this evening. These questions are, 1, what are the most pressing challenges and opportunities for Adams 14? And as a board member, how would you propose we address those challenges and opportunities? 2, education continues to grapple with painful budget decisions, in large part due to inadequate state funding. With limited resources, how would you prioritize funding to support student achievement, family and community engagement, and safe school environments? 3, if a parent or a principal comes to you regarding, for example, a maintenance issue at a particular campus or a situation involving a particular teacher, how do you see your role as a school board member in resolving that issue? And the 4th question, describe how you would work to overcome a difference of opinion around decisions the board makes to find compromises that are in the best interest of Adams 14 students. If you can, please draw on an example from your personal or professional experience. Each applicant will have 3 minutes to share their thoughts on each of these 4 questions. And they will be alerted that their time is ending when Monica holds up the 30-second warning card. So, all right, let's go ahead and begin to hear from the finalists, and we'll hear from them in alphabetical order. So I believe our first speaker is going to be Mr. LaCroix.
Good evening. All right, Andrew LaCroix. I've been in the district all my life. Went to DuPont Elementary, fit into Adams City Middle School, and now to Adams City High School. Went off to college in Trinidad State Junior College and came back and began to work in my community. Began my work with Commerce City Recreation Center, working there with the partnership with Adams 14 School District at that time through the STARS program, before an after school program. That's been years ago. From there, I went in to continue to work with Commerce City Rec Center through multiple departments, through the teen center, the facilities, summer camp, various departments within Parks and Rec, and also served on various committees. Also, within the Commerce City Parks and Rec, I also started coaching. I think last year was might be my final year of coaching there. It takes a lot of time, but I've been with the Parks and Rec for about 20 years coaching and working with them. Also started working with the district, became a dean at Kearney Middle School. I was there actually for 1 year as a 6th grade dean. And then went on to Adams 12. Within Adams 12, I was working in the Intervention Services Department, addressing truancy and alternative expulsions, working with principals, middle school principals and high school principals, and also working with elementary principals to address the attendance issues within elementary, pre-core conferences and attendance contracts with parents, and working with the family as a whole to figure out how can we serve you, the family. You're not here to meet with me to be in trouble. You're here because we want to work with you. Like I said, various coaching through CCYA, Adams City Wrestling Club. Now I'm currently in Mont Ballard, far northeast, Denver Public Schools, at Noah Community Arts Middle School. I am the middle school dean, the only dean of the middle school, and the athletic director. I serve in a lot of areas in that building, since we are 6 through 12, and we are a very small school, 142 kids we serve. So I've been in education, like I said, for about 10 years. Have my bachelor's in human services, my master's in school counseling. I recently just obtained my principal licensure. My goal is one day actually to get back within district and end my career here, be one of those lifers. But right now I think my community needs me on this board, and so that's why I decided to run for the vacant seat. So with the first question, it talks about what are the pressing challenges and opportunities for Adams 14, and as a board member, what would I do to address those challenges and opportunities? So, it's no secret that Adams 14 has been in the news for a lot of things, more negative than positive, and more recently, just the turnaround and the contracts with MGT and the state taking over. And people ask me, like, well, why do you keep your kids there? And why not? I believe in our district. I believe in our teachers. I believe in our admin that I work with, that I see that I'm able to have a relationship with. And I think, again, the most pressing thing is the turnaround. Also, the attendance and the truancy, seeing these kids not come to school. So working with the principals, working with our community, building that trust back with our community, building that trust back with our students. I want to start addressing, making sure that MGT is making sure that our district is headed in the right place for our kids and their families, and making sure we're addressing our truancy, working with our families, not pushing them away, making sure our students and our families are getting the right services. As a second question, education continues to grapple with painful budget decisions in large part to inadequate state funding. I work in education, as mentioned, and I see how the decisions of CD, the state, and how they affect our building, and how the district First question? Sounds good. Yes, sir. All right.
Something down. So, buenas tardes, good evening. My name is Lucy Molina, and I'm just a parent, community organizer here in Commerce City and in a lot of places in our state of Colorado. So, I want to thank all of my elected officials for their service. I'm so honored also to be along my awesome friends and colleagues and neighbors, Andrew and Maria, los quiero mucho. And all of you guys, thank you so much for taking the time to coming and supporting us. So bueno, I don't really need to look too far than my own home to understand the needs of my community. I'm a parent, a concerned citizen, advocate, and a member of our humble community. My love and commitment to my community has encouraged me to pursue leadership roles that may help open avenues of empowerment for future leaders that reflect our historic and growing diverse city. I come to you as an ordinary parent, an average citizen, with no ties or any special interest. My only desire is really to serve. My international knowledge and positive relationships with local, state, and national representatives, as well as with key community members, can be an asset to our board. As a community organizer in Metro, Denver, Aurora, Greeley, and Commerce City, I have seen the injustices that marginalized communities face. Our children deserve a quality education that competes with the global village. We need teachers our children can grow up with, and neighbors that know each other and care for one another. As a marginalized community, we face many challenges that the other communities will never know, actually, and they don't understand. These are issues that we must face head on and then find innovative ways to make learning exciting and empowering. We are more than test scores. So we must take bold action to teach and nurture the whole child. Community members encouraged me to apply, and I come before you tonight with the heart of a mother and a caring member of this community. I come to you for the opportunity to serve our families. It would be an honor to work along your side, and all of you, and be a voice for our children, parents, families, and staff, to help lead Adams 14 into this new decade. The future is now. Please consider me for this open vacancy. Muchas gracias. Dios los bendiga. So, what are the most pressing challenges and opportunities for Adams 14? As a board member, how would you propose we address those challenges and opportunities? Well, I just kind of read some of the in my introduction, so I'm not gonna, deep too much. But one for me is not to lose our district, not to privatize our district either. Also, this turnaround. That is, at least as a parent, I come as a mother, so my perspective is literally just as a parent, how can I help my child get out of this successfully, right? So I would say the turnaround is one of the priorities. Include the community, include me, include us, include all of us. Not just I would say the families, the parents, all stakeholders, include the business community as well. Other districts, our neighboring districts like in Aurora, Checa Pueblo, like really go an international view. Like a hawk, we gotta see what is the best solution. Is it really here locally? Can we find other solutions, maybe abroad in international countries that through their innovative education, they have been really successful, like Japan, like Korea, So these are other opportunities that we can see. So 30, okay. So there's many. Another thing is to challenge our parents, businesses, and stakeholders. Challenge me as a parent. Tell me how I can help my child. Tell me how I can help my child become successful. And also, how can we protect this district? How can we save this historic district? Yeah, thank you. That's it. My time?
So, good evening, everybody, and thank you for this opportunity. I'm happy to be here. So, my name is Maria Zubia. I grew up in Commerce City as well. I graduated from Adams City High School, went to Monaco, Adams City Middle, and Kearney. I live here, I work here. I have 3 children that have gone through the Adams 14 school district. Initially, they were at charter school, and then when I knew that we were going to be looking at doing more STEAM and more other innovative learnings in this district, I decided as a parent that, well, maybe I should switch them here. And back then, I didn't realize I guess I didn't really realize the depth of turmoil this district was going to be in. But either way, I will just share with you part of the reason that I'm here is not only for my kids, but also the other children in this community, our children that may not have that voice, our parents that may not be able to be, how should I say, to have the choices that many of us do have. So really quickly, I have a 20-year-old who unfortunately is a dropout of Adams 14. I'm really transparent and clear with people, and I will tell you there's nothing to hide. There's no shame in that. He actually works. He preferred to go to work with his dad, and he's been doing great, 3 years. He's my IEP kid that I had to fight for an IEP for 18 years. So I am very proud of the fact that he actually is sticking to something right now, and and it really helps his hyperactivity when he's working these labor jobs with his dad. So and I'm grateful for everything he did learn, and the fact that he's my only true bilingual child of the 3. Sad to say. My other son is a senior at Leicester, and then my baby girl, my daughter, is a freshman. She's here today. She's a freshman at Leicester. And I want to let you know that she's a freshman at Leicester by choice. She actually advocated to go to Leicester Arnold. She had choice to go to many other high schools, got choiced in, and then in the end, she came to me and advocated to go to Leicester. And it was the best choice we could have made because she is blossoming there and has been doing really good. And I'm very proud of all the work that they do at Leicester. I don't know if Mr. Sandoz left, but they just do a great job, and I wish that we would take that model that they have at Leicester and somehow figure out how to apply that with everybody else, because they do an awesome job. So besides my story, I want to tell you that to me, being on this board means, or the interest for me being on this board and filling this vacant position is more than just one reason. First, I want to help further the mission of Adams 14. We have a wonderful mission. I am mission-oriented, and every time I have an issue, I want to go back to that mission and say, what is it that we're supposed to do? And so when I reevaluated what that was, and I went and I read it, and it says, which includes enhancing the quality of education and expanding learning opportunities. I'm like, well, what does that really mean? And how can we, work on that to make sure that, one, we are providing that quality education for everybody, and two, that people do have more than one pathway to their future. And the reason I say that, growing up, I had three main values my family instilled in me. One was family, faith, and future, and that included education. Whether you went to college or not, that was the education piece that we had to graduate from high school and then find a job. Either way, that was our future. Second, I want to help with the process of gaining back the trust from our community, the faith back from our parents, and of course, the pride back in our students. I think those are some of the key missings right now in this community. As a member of this group, I hope to help represent also the voices that are sometimes underrepresented. As a member of the largest minority group in Commerce City, I think that this is very important, and it has to happen. Eventually, it has to happen. So with that, given the opportunity, I welcome it. I welcome the challenge, and to work together and bring time and talent to accomplish these tasks.
Maria, do you want to take a couple minutes just to kind of even out and answer question number 1 so that
Oh, yes.
we start
Oh, so we can start with, okay.
again with question number 2, since the first 2 have already answered questions.
Okay, so question 1, what are the most pressing challenges and opportunities in Adams 14? So we all know what the challenges are: turnaround, communication, parent involvement, and so on and so on. I think we need to start focusing on what those opportunities are and start building on those. We have many opportunities in this district. We have a high percentage of bilingual children that knowing a second language is such a gift and such an asset, and we need to really work on that. We have a high population of kids that are gifted and talented. We need to really work with them to give them more opportunities. You have the dual class, the ones that have special needs and are gifted and talented. There's so many other positives in this district. You just have so many amazing partners in the community that are willing to support, that I think we need to start looking outside of the box and stop just doing the same thing over and over again. So for me, I would really start wanting to look at those opportunities. What can we maximize and what can we replicate that works? Like I said, Lester Arnold is one of those successes. What's working over there? Why can't we replicate some of that into some of the other schools? So for me, that's, yeah, we do need to look obviously at the turnaround and the lack of communication, lack of parent involvement, but doing some other of the positives I think will help fill in the gap for that. So thank you, everybody.
So as we have the next round, I'll just reread question number 2. Education continues to grapple with painful budget decisions, in large part due to inadequate state funding. With limited resources, how would you prioritize funding to support student achievement, family and community engagement, and safe school environments? And with that, I'd like to invite Mr. LaCrue to come back up.
So, as I said, the state continues and districts continues to suffer due to lack of funding, and working in DPS, seeing what the challenges are put ahead of us due to lack of funding, due to lack of support, and fortunately I have a great leader who I work under, Ms. Rhonda Jewett, who continues to fight the battle every day and look for additional funding and work with other leaders within the far northeast and see how can we address this, because it's just not a challenge in our building, it's a challenge in Adams City, challenge at other schools within the far northeast. So looking at resources within the state, looking at grants that we could, I know within the district are always looking at grants. What grant can they get to support our students, our teachers? If our teachers don't have the resources, how can our kids learn? How can my kids learn? I got a kid at Adams City High School, Kearney Middle School, and Monaco Elementary. So we got to do what we can to make sure we support these teachers, support these principals, put them in a good position to succeed. So working with our administration and at the district and school level, seeing what their needs are, listening to them. For example, when I was working in Kearney. Kearney's been around a long time. Walking through that building, seeing all the maintenance it needed, and seeing people come into our building and like, wow, this building needs a lot of work. Yeah, perception. So working with our school and district leaders, seeing what are our biggest needs and identifying how can we go out there and get some money for that, and making sure our community has a part of that and addresses, hey, these are our concerns. When I walk into my son's school, this is what I see. This is what, when I volunteer in my son's school, this is what I see. And listening to the teachers. I think for a long time, teachers have been afraid to speak to the board members. Actually sitting down and listening to what is your biggest obstacle as a teacher. Because I know my teachers every day have obstacles put in front of them, and we do our best to make sure they have what they need. But again, running does limit us. So listen to the teachers here, because again, for the years and the years past, teachers haven't had a voice here. And I want to make sure our teachers here feel comfortable with coming to us and saying, this is what I need. This is what I need to teach our kids. This is what I need to teach your kids. So listening to that, working with my fellow board members, and trying to adjust those needs as best as we can.
Well, I didn't go to this district. I personally didn't. I'm part of a neighboring district, actually, in Mapleton Public Schools. This is where I graduated from. I graduated with honors, with scholarships. I was, at that time, I was probably one of the only Latinas. At that time, I think Commerce City had a little bit more Latinos at that time when I grew up. I graduated in 1993. I was able to obtain a scholarship, and I went to college in Hawaii. I studied communications and business management. So I do have an international perspective in a lot of the things that I do. The education continues to grapple with painful budget decisions, in large part due to inadequate state funding. There's our problem right there, right? Inadequate state funding. So we need to reach out. I say, I need to reach out and hustle my state legislators, okay? Because if it's at the state, then we need to, at least me personally, I go to the state every year. I try to inform myself. I really as not only as part of this board, already as a community member and as part of being part of the DAC, I go every year. I was there a couple weeks ago from the beginning. Opened in January 8th, I think. So I've been, talking to my leaders, to my state representatives. How can they help and focus this funding towards these communities? Another thing I do is, and this is, and I'm sorry to say this, but really avoid an $8 million mistake again. You know what I mean? I thank MGT and the people that are here helping us, but I'm like, how did we get here? Really? How did we get here? But then we're already here, so we need to work together. So one is, for me, was partnerships, shared vision with our NPOs, our nonprofits. That would also help, as far as the funding goes, that may help with additional programming that might, save us money, perhaps? Okay. I always say we need to educate before we regulate, okay? So educate us. Tell the parents, tell the community, what do we need to do? How can we reach out? Do we need to do fundraisers? How do we need to, if I really care about my school district and my children, you better believe it, as a mother, I'm gonna make every effort that my kids and your kids will be successful. So really, I would say, we need to reach out to our state legislators, and we need to start changing policies and laws. Thank you.
So question 2, I think the question is really on how, with limited funds, what do we do to make sure that we do meet the mission and that we support student achievement and all of the other requirements. So to begin with, as I said before, we need to really stick to our mission. What are the goals for the year? What are we working on? Is there a work plan? What does your annual work plan say? Is there something that needs to be met? Are there goals that need to be met and that we need to put funding towards so that we meet those goals? I think for a long time, like we used to say at one of the foundations I participated in, one of the gentlemen put it clearly when he said, we're tired of doing the spray and pray money. We spray it out there and pray to God it makes a difference. I think that anymore now, we need to really start being diligent and focusing on what truly is that goal, how are we going to meet that goal, and how much funding is going to take to get there. There are other creative ways of coming up with certain things. So for me, family and community engagement is very important as well. It's a huge component. But there are many community partners out there and CBOs, community-based organizations. This is what they do. This is their jobs. This is what they spend their funding in. They get tons of grants to do this type of work. We need to do a better job of partnering with them and having them help us because they already have the trust of the community. A lot of these folks go to them. Why can't we maximize that and say, let's find out who they are and let's work together. And instead of turning them away for whatever reason, because that has happened in the past, I want to go with the moving forward and really valuing the fact that we have these gold nuggets out in this community of very, how should I say, just approachable folks that are willing to help and have offered to help in the past. To me, that would make more sense than trying to reinvent the wheel year after year. Thank you.
Before I remind everyone of question 3, I'd like to remind you again, if you've got questions that you'd like to be considered, please get them to Monica. So question number 3 for our finalists. If a parent or a principal comes to you regarding, for example, a maintenance issue at a particular campus or a situation involving a particular teacher, how do you see your role as a school board member in resolving that issue?
I think this is something I deal with every day. The leader I work for now, she really relies on me to take care of this stuff without really much guidance. Not guidance, but me to take care of it without her having to worry about it. So, my big thing is if a parent comes to me with an issue, first thing I tell them, if for example, if your student's being bullied and your student does not feel safe in my building, we have an issue. If your student's going home and saying they don't feel safe to come to school, we have an issue. So working with that parent, make sure that parent feels comfortable to walk in my building every day to address any issue it is, whether it be a maintenance issue, whether it be an issue with the teacher, making sure they feel comfortable that they know that I'm going to do the best I can to resolve it. I'm going to sit there and listen to them. And parents do come in heated because they want the best for their kid. And understanding, hey, they're not mad at me, they're mad at the situation. And being able to sit there and listen and work with the parent to help solve that. And same thing with my principal. Then my principal asked me, if there's a maintenance issue or there's an issue with the teacher, being able to have that tough conversation with that teacher, but also putting some stuff in place to help that teacher learn from that, so that teacher don't feel, oh, okay, I'm being reprimanded. And make sure they know that we have that relationship where when I come in, it's just not just to reprimand, it's to help encourage them, help build them, and and so that they grow from this. I work with a lot of first-year teachers within my building, and that's one of my main priorities is that they're learning every day as well as the students. That yes, they are going to make mistakes, but they want to learn from this mistake. So again, I deal with this stuff every day, and there's not always an easy answer, but it's working with the right people to make sure we find the best answer. So.
Okay, so direct them according to the district policies, the laws, also depending on the situation, right? Follow the district protocol and mediation. I would say like that. I'm gonna give you one example, really. Again, I'm also learning, I'm just a parent, you know, I'm a parent. I don't work for the district, I've never worked for any, you know, government body or anything like that. I'm really just coming as a parent, you know. As people know, I work in a local store here, Joyeria Alondra, that we're a really involved community, involved business in the community. Working in Joyeria Alondra, which is why I once was watching the news and I saw a Latino parent that was complaining on, you know, TV on Univision regarding, we're all familiar with the LCR report, it's all involved with that. She was complaining about our district, and this is in Hanson. There was a situation at Hanson. So, and it was a pretty serious situation, really. I kind of overheard her, she's a client. I overheard her children go to school with my son. So, or we're going to school with my son at that time. I heard her complaining about, you know, like, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna sue, and I'm gonna do, and she was so mad, you know. And during that time, I got involved really in the district by another concerned parent that is no longer here, and some of you guys might know her. Her name is Carolina, and she had IEP. She's the kind of that guided me because of all the issues that she was going through with her special needs child, and I was directed to the DAC meetings, to the parent group that at that time were happening in the Adams 14 district. So I figured that there's a place and the people where to go, you know what I mean? There's always a protocol, like where do I need to do to report, like my maintenance, if I'm gonna report a leak, so the maintenance department. If it's something about finances, so we really need to do our homework, study where do people need to be directed according to the policies and the protocol of this district. And if we need to modify it and we need to work with it, then we need to start doing those things and making those changes, yeah? So, yes, thank you. I think my time is up. It's never enough time for me, I talk too much.
So this question is kind of tricky because on one hand you want to make sure that people feel welcome and that you're approachable, but on the other hand you also have to realize that your role on the board is really not the role of fixing things. That's why there's staff. And so it's directing people to the appropriate staff member. So if it is maintenance, who's the maintenance supervisor? If it's a teacher, well, what was the issue and who should they be referred to? If it's a parent, once again, referring them to the chain of command. As much as I would love to bypass the chain of command, it's not as easy. One of the things I have found over the years, I do a lot of advocacy for our parents, and I've always told them, go to the source first, and then go from there, because that's how people take you seriously. If you really want to make that change and you really want something to happen, you have to put the work in. You have to do that research. You have to go and figure it out first. And so with anything else, this is kind of the reason a lot of the gossip starts, is because people go to the wrong person, they get the wrong information, and then pretty soon you're in the hot seat. And I would hate to be in the hot seat. So for me, it's better to refer people to follow that chain of command, and then and of course, you know, we still want to be approachable as board members. I think that in the past I've never had a problem approaching any of our board members just to have a conversation and mention some of the things that are going on, once again without the intent that they would fix it, but at least listen. And so I think that we're all open to that. If it's something that they absolutely need and it's an emergency, well then yes, let's help you get connected to the right person.
Here's the last of the 4 questions created by the board. Describe how you would work to overcome a difference of opinion around decisions the board makes to find compromises that are in the best interest of Adams 14 students. If you can, please draw upon an example from your personal or your professional experience. Andrew?
Again, working in education, there's always has to be decisions, and there's always decisions made that sometimes I don't agree with. And one big thing is working within the instructional leadership team within my school. Sometimes there are decisions that we have to make, and I don't agree with them. But we are professionals within the building, and we got to make sure the show goes on for our students every day, and we got to make sure students don't see that, that fire in the back that happened during the conversation. So, knowing that there is going to be times where the board and I have a difference of opinions, but I have full confidence in Regina, Renee, Ramona, and working with a few of them in the past on various committees, that we're able to come to that understanding that, hey, we're not always going to agree, but one thing we do agree on, and that's the most important thing, is what's best for our students, what's best for this community, what's best for our principals, what's best for our teachers. I think we're going to find that common ground that we're able to overcome those and work together. So I have full confidence in myself and this board that we're able to come together as one and, again, serve this community.
Okay, so then my only interest really is the children, right? Our students. And yes, my teachers too, because they spent like 8 hours a day with my kids. So everyone really. So there's, I guess there's many examples I could use. The first one, the freshest one that we could say was the EMO process that we went through, honestly. I think there was so many difference of opinions over there. Like, I saw like over 500 people show up here, at high school, right? And we all had our own opinion. And we all wanted different things. But I really respect and I thank the work of Adams 14 during that time, that we were able to, the groups, all that process, that even though we all had a different opinion, we were able to respect each other. John Poynton, I really thank you also, because you were really part of that, and that really helped us. And also Tipton. So that style of compromising, of uniting, of bringing all these ideas together, and making, we added not only the parents, every stakeholder was in different groups, and that really showed us how to be united, even though we had different understanding, different goals that we all wanted from there, but we were able to get along. I know that we're not always gonna make everybody happy. Okay, I say again, also include all our stakeholders, do community forums such as these, the surveys that we've done before, all of these things are important, not only for the local community, for our students, and for our teachers, our parents, especially our students. I mean, we can't underestimate our children. They're smarter than what we think, especially in this district. Maria said something right now really about, we have bilingual kids, I'm also bilingual. I read and write English and Spanish as well. Not only, and I also learned a little bit of Japanese. Watashi wa nihongo ne skochi desu. And I love all this, it's really important to be able to include everybody. Be inclusive, really. Be inclusive. Include us all. Include everybody, especially the parent. When I think of the whole child and I'm left out, then we're not doing our job. Thank you.
So for me, similar to what Andrew and Lucy said before, is find that common goal, find that common ground. But once again, always keeping that goal in mind. See all points of view, and actually something that's very difficult to do, and it takes practice, is really listening with the intent to understand, not listening with the intent to answer people, but to respond. It's really to understand that other person's point of view. Once again, making sure that the goal is being met. So for me, it's not always going to be pretty, and I think I took the word perfection out of my vocabulary because it does not exist. So there's never going to be that perfect opportunity for anything. But we just have to be flexible and really take the challenge and work through it. Pretty much how it goes. For me, I'll give you a personal example, and the reason I'm going to give this personal example is because after this, after I say this to you, I want you to realize that there isn't anything we can't work out and we can't compromise. So in June, when I went on vacation with my mother, my mom was 84. I noticed she was having issues, so when we came back and cut our vacation short, she was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. Very rare. Sorry, promised I wouldn't cry. And so we had a talk with the doctor, and they wanted to know if she wanted to do chemo, and we had to decide as her daughters, should we or should we not? And so it was very hard to see all the different perspectives. The grandkids said, we want Grandma to try her best and get her medicine so she's still with us. My brother said, well, it's whatever the doctor says. If they can do it, why not? My mom says, well, it's up to you girls. If you guys feel that I can go through this, or are you going to put me through extra pain? And then everybody else, with their difference of opinion, leaves it to me to decide with my mom. And so her and I talked, God bless her, and she's always my rock. She's the reason I do what I do, and she's an inspiration. She's never quit. And she's like, I'm 84. What's the point of me suffering? What's the point of this? Let's enjoy the next, 3 to 6 months. And so we did. And it was the best 3 to 6 months I got to spend with her. We got, we would get up, I'd buy her, whatever she wanted, whatever Grandma wanted, Grandma had. And so we would go on shopping trips just to get her snacks, whatever it was. And as hard as this was, I realized that it was the right decision for her. It wasn't about me, it was about her and what was best for her. And so I couldn't be selfish, and I had to make that decision with her. And so to this day, we're blessed, and she taught me a lot. And after having that experience, I will tell you, there is nothing out there that we cannot accomplish, because you can't, death is it. That's like the end of everything, but it's not. We do what we do to make her proud. And this is one of those things she wanted me to do and try. So, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. We're going to take a very brief break because we need to change the batteries on the camera. We have some excellent questions from the audience, but we're running short on time. This is really important, but we're going to ask our finalists let's do a lightning round. So let's try to answer these questions in a minute and a half. We'll be really quick and concise. All right, question number 1. So this is a 2-year appointment. Describe your vision for Adams 14 and what you hope to get done in those 2 years and how it will serve that vision.
That I think kind of relates back to our first question. I think again, really working with MGT and know that in 2 years that we do have a vision, that we know in 2 years our district is going to be in a lot better place. So we're really working with them closely and to set that vision, make sure that vision is shared with our administrators within the district and at the school level, because they need to be a big part of this, and I don't want a plan just to be given out and say, okay, here it is, you guys got to do this. It needs to be a collaborative partnership, and we all need to work together. And 2 years, it seems like a long time, but these 2 years are going to go by fast, and we need to make sure, again, that in 2 years, we're in a better place than we were today.
So yes, 2 years does go fast, but once again, working in a collaboration and really focusing our energy on what needs to happen first and second and so on and so on. Having some type of process. I think that with MGT's help and our new board, that this is something that is possible. I'm very excited for the next 2 years to see what happens. Regardless of who gets this position, I know that it will be, it's going to be exciting, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it takes us. But yes, for me personally, I want to make sure that we get some of the biggies taken care of, and that's really getting more participation, not only from students, parents, but welcoming our community back, which is, like Lucy said before, includes small businesses, everybody, like it used to be. So hopefully we could get that and get everybody's support to help us move the district ahead, because we can't do it on our own.
2 years is not enough. There's a lot of work. I do focus on our kids, so really community engagement, really educating the community. I think that the community needs to understand, the parents need to understand, and our stakeholders and our business community understand the grave situation that we're in. Really, I don't want to, to me, it's not something to take lightly. We're in a serious situation. So 2 years, community engage, educate the community. Like I said, we need to educate before we regulate. So we need to educate the parents and understand, and our students as well, everybody. What is the situation we're in, and what can we do again as parents to get involved to make this a success, so we could get at a turnaround, because really 2 years is not enough. I see in 2 years, I see myself getting to know all my schools, visiting the schools, understanding, like really chop it up, try to like really digest and dissect really where the problems are at, and really get the community involved. Include me, include us, not the Latino community, all our business community, the ones that are affecting our community as well as the ones that are supporting our students and our community as well. Yes, thank you. Is that a minute and a half? Not enough time for me.
Thank you. So we've heard the topic of community engagement come up several times tonight. Give us one specific example of something that you will do to raise trust with parents and have them engage more actively in their schools.
So for many years now, I've been wanting to do, and I have asked many times why we couldn't have this, and always get a very different answer. But I would like to have our Latino Advisory Committee up and going again, made up of parents and community members, that is actually run in Spanish. That is actually where we can hear them, give them the space and the respect they deserve, as opposed to having them always having this part of the population always have to use headsets through interpretation, and because a lot gets lost through the interpretation, and just giving them that space and taking that information and working off of that information. Getting firsthand information is very important to me, and so that's something that I think does create trust, and it does help empower the families that we serve the most. And it's not just our Spanish speakers. There's been other committees we used to have in the past. We used to have a support group for kids with special needs. We used to have, the GT kids had something. So it's very important that people with similar issues come together and have that human connection. And to me, that's just as important as everything else. So thank you.
My favorite part is community engagement. This is what I do. So I would say, let's bring the mariachi and the bailete and let's rock or something. I do come from the music industry. So I like to, salsa it up, but make parents feel like they have a voice, as we are a diverse community. Gosh, I want to agree, and I do agree with Maria, and it's true, but then I think, where I work, again, I shared an example earlier where I work in Joyería Londra. A lot of the people that I represent and that are probably invisibly here behind me are immigrants. There's people that they will not ever put themselves up front in any form, just because of the fear that we have with ICE, with the real issues that these are things that affect our children. So I would really try to build that trust by, again, through the businesses. Some of these businesses do have the trust already, and some of these NPOs also have the trust already, and continue working with them and pull them out, bring them out, and make them feel that their voices are included and accepted, and that us as parents are included really in the future and the education, not only of our children, but of the future of this district and the city.
There's so many good questions. We only have time for 3. Oh, I beg your pardon, Andrew. Lo siento. Please.
I almost got off the hook there. Maria and Lucy really touched on important points, and it makes me think back to my high school days when I was on student council, and in the old Adams City High School, there was one section where a lot of our Spanish-speaking students hung out, and we were always encouraged, don't forget about them. They're students too. Go out there and speak to them. And unfortunately, no one on student council spoke Spanish, of the students. And so, me reaching out to my friends, hey, let's go, come help me, and let's speak to them, let's get them involved in school-wide events, so doing the same thing as what you said, getting them involved in school-wide events. And what Lucy said, hey, a big pachanga that's a good idea. Welcome back to the district, parents. Welcome back. You do mean something to us, so having community forums like this and other events within the community where we could celebrate our community and celebrate our students, and where it's not always just business, it's here to introduce ourselves and get to know our community a little more. So thank you.
Yes, so we have a lot of great questions, but we've had to keep it to 3, so there's only one more. But remember, there's an opportunity to talk face-to-face with the finalists outside after we conclude tonight. So the last question, and this question is going to be in Espanol, and so we'll do it reverse, and we'll rely on our colleague Karen to translate. Here's the question. Leyendo un libro con mi hijo, de ciencias me dijo, ¿por qué tenemos que leer esto si en la escuela no me enseñan ni ciencias ni estudios sociales? Y por eso le había ido mal el año pasado en CIMAS. Mi pregunta es, ¿cómo mejorarían la programación de clases de ciencias y estudios sociales en vuestras escuelas en primaria?
question is, reading a science book with my son told me, why do we have to read this if at school they do not teach me science or social studies? And that's why he did so bad in CMAS last year. My question is, how are you going to improve the programming of the science and social studies classes in our schools in elementary?
In elementary, let me go back to elementary. Science and social studies is so important. I mean, as many people know, I'm a community organizer, and I work in the environmental issues. That is in a lot of science and biology and things that I've learned throughout the years. And now that if I didn't know social studies and science, I probably wouldn't recognize these signs, right? And as far as social studies, it's important to be engaged to understand like legislation, represented. What is government? What is like? They need to understand even at a young age, really, that regardless of their color or their language or any disability, even that they can also represent us. Because if they don't recognize these things, guess what? Someone else is going to come from another city to tell us what we need, when we should already know what we need, because this is our community. Thank you.
That is, real concerning to hear, considering that I have a current kindergartner, is why isn't this being taught? So that's going to be the tough question for the leadership, is why isn't this being taught? And to get an actual answer. If our kids are going on to middle school and high school and they're expected to learn this stuff, and so many credit hours of this in high school, not learning this stuff in elementary is not really supporting it. So it's putting our students at a big disadvantage. So working with the district and our leaders within the school to figure out why isn't this, and how do we get it back in there, because our students are missing so much, and again, we are, as our district, are putting our kids at a disadvantage.
So I would echo what Andrew said about getting leadership involved to find out why it isn't happening, what the reason is. Also realizing that with science and social studies, there's more opportunity to do more of the hands-on teaching and learning that actually does impact their math, their reading, and their writing skills, and somehow correlating those so that these curriculums are being aligned with whatever it is that the kids are learning. And also realizing that in elementary school is when you have to start, because the earlier you start, the better with all of these. And so interventions, as we know, happen a lot in middle school and high school. And sometimes and I guess I should say, it probably would be there would be less interventions if we started earlier with a lot of the different programming that needs to happen. And yeah, I think that that's one of those questions that I would actually forward on to leadership to find out what's going on there. Thank you.
It takes an enormous amount of courage and commitment to respond to the call of public service, which these individuals are already doing in their community. In addition to filling out the letters of interest, submitting those to the board, preparing for this evening, coming out, answering questions, I'd like everyone to take just a second to give a big hand to our three finalists that have done such a marvelous job tonight. Truly an honor, Maria, Luz, and Andrew, to have you here with us tonight. We also want to thank you, the community members who joined us this evening. The board will take a final vote on February 11th and announce the new board director at that time. We want to encourage you all, once again, to complete the comment cards with your impressions of the finalists. These will be shared with our board directors before they make their final decision on the 11th. Once again, we encourage you to visit with the finalists, ask your own questions. They will be seated at tables outside the community room in just a few minutes. And before we end, let's all give a final round of applause to tonight's interpreter, Guadalupe Carabello. Thank you. And also, I'd also like to recognize Karen Chavez. Thank you very much, Karen, for your support. And our videographer, Cameron Weiss. Thank you very much, Cameron. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. Safe home.